Hey, I'm back again. This is set for a little while to dry out, and so it's gotten a little bit better as far as working with it. So let's give it a shot at finishing this bird feeder. Okay, we're going to turn this thing upside down, and I'm going to adhere it to, we're trying to keep this as round as possible. We have our bottom tray done. And I need to put that on just a minute here. We're going to put that on a tray here so that we for sure can move it around and let it dry in this position. Okay, so I've made, remember I showed you how we did the slump plates on this, and I made another one that was smaller, and this is going to be for the cap. This is going to be for the base of the bird feeder. Now, the thing that we need to do is, in this bird feeder, as you know, when it hangs outside, it gets a lot of rain in it, and so it's real important to put some drain holes in this, just so that we can drain the moisture away and it doesn't get soggy and all moldy on for the bird food. So, what I'm going to do first is set this in and get an idea of where I want to center this and get it all set up. Okay, and that's about where I want it, and I'm just going to draw a little line around it so I can come back and put this on here in a later date, or just a moment later. So I'm just going to draw a line around this so I know where I want it to set. And then I'm going to lift this off. While I was gone and while you were gone, what I did was I took a texture roller, which is this right here, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's a finger roller, and I put this rolling pin inside so I had something to roll against, and I rolled a texture around both top and bottom of the bird feeder, so it'd give us some interesting things for the when the glaze has something to cling to. Okay, we're going to take this off then for just a moment. We've got the round ring drawn on here marking where the placement is going to go, and I have a hole punch, and the hole punch is it's not very big around, but it's going to be big enough, and we're going to, hopefully it's not so big that the bird seed will lose out of it, but we're going to put a few holes in here. And what I'm going to do is lift this up and punch through like this, and it punches holes out. We're going to put about 5 holes inside. And like I said, we just will hope that the bird seed doesn't fall out. Realize that these holes will get a little smaller when it shrinks down, and that should not be a big problem. That should be about the right size then. Okay, and then I'm just taking the back side of my fingers, kind of smoothing it out a little bit. Can't do too much or we'll disform this. We can maybe turn it upside down a little bit and take a rib and kind of smooth it just slightly. You gotta be kind of careful working with this because it's so doggone flimsy. You know, the dampness of the clay. Probably it'd be better if I could have waited until this was leather hard to punch holes, but it's going to be constructed and it's not going to work, and for ease of videotaping, this is how we're going to do it today. Okay, we got our holes done, and we're going to poke a couple holes in the outside of this plate so that water can drain out when the seed is sitting on the outside. My husband suggested that, and I think it's a very good idea because he said it gets moldy. So we're going to do that. Punch 4 holes in this for drainage. And you don't have to necessarily have this whole bore like this. You can stick a needle tool in or whatever you can to poke some holes in. Okay, there we go. We got all our holes done. I'm going to pick up the clay so I don't get that stuck somewhere that I don't want it stuck. Kind of bring this up a little bit. And what we're going to do is take our scoring tool now, and we're going to score around where I made that ring so I know where I'm going to set the bottom. We're going to do just like this. And we're going to take the paintbrush and put some water in there. Like I said, you can use slip too. Either one works. I've had good luck with both. And then we're going to take the bottom of this and score it. By scoring, the molecules of the clay can press together and form a good seal. Okay, and then we're going to place it right in here, right on that where all that scoring is. Try to keep it as round as possible. And we're just kind of going to snug it down and push it down together pretty well. Then what I'm going to do is take some clay. We're going to make that seam a little bit nicer that's there, just so it's sealed well. The whole idea is we want to make it good and strong so that it won't come apart. And so you got to think about it as a construction engineer here and what's going to make that the strongest. What I'm doing right now is just pressing. It's got kind of some funny bumps in it. I guess this bird feeder is going to have a figure to it, so it's kind of pooking out. It's been eating too much while it's in quarantine. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of clay here and make a rope. In other words, I'm going to roll this out like you used to when you were a kid, just with our hands. Roll it out into a thin little rope. And what we're going to do is this is going to go around the outside here just to form a real good seam. A little extra fortifying fortress here, or structure. Guess I got a little too much clay. Okay, we're just about got that. Let's take this for a test drive and see if we've got enough here to go around. Oh, just absolutely perfect. We could roll it just a skosh bit longer and then we'll have it. It'll be perfect. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take our scoring tool, because every time you put a seam together you got to score it. And the other thing that I want to do real quick here, I've got a tool like this. It's a real handy tool for smoothing edges, and we're just kind of going to go around here and press and hope that we can get a little bit of a seal. Now we're going to come around, we're going to take the scoring tool, go right down the edge of this worm that we made, or roll, whatever you want to call it. We're going to score this. Just have a light finger just so it doesn't need to be heavy. You don't need to pull all the clay out of there. And then we're going to brush on some, oh, where did my brush go? Here it went. Brush on a little bit of water in here. And with this, I'm not going to water down the rope. I'm just going to bring it right in, making sure the scoring marks are right against the clay. And there we have it. Put the clay away so it keeps moist. That's an important thing to do, don't let it lay out. Now what we're going to do is take our fingers and just start pressing this and getting it in, working it. It might stretch a little bit, and that's okay. You need to put your hand inside to kind of hold against, but we want to stretch this down, you know, just press it against to make a better seam and one that won't come apart. I'll come right in here like this. I always believe in my mugs and everything of putting a good extra seam in here. This one's a little bit bigger than what I use in the mugs. But you can see I'm just smoothing it out with my finger. And then we're going to get our handy dandy little wooden tool here, and that's going to help finish the seam out. This compresses it even more, and as you compress clay, it forms together and molds together very well. So you're just going to go around like this with a wooden tool and press that in. You can see what I'm doing here, hopefully. Wish I could zoom in for you, but you're going to have to kind of figure out what's going on. I can't run the camera and this at the same time. Okay, we're just about done. What this does too, because the clay was a little bit thinner, remember I said it wasn't quite as thick as what I would have liked to have had it, rolling it out the hand method. This gives it a little bit extra oomph to the bottom too, because it's got that plate's got to hang on there when this is hanging from a post or a tree limb or wherever you hang the bird feeder at. Okay, and then I'm going to take, if you don't have a chamois, I suggest that you go to the like Target or auto parts store and buy a leather chamois. You can cut it into pieces. Mine's cut about this big, and it really works good to smooth things on any of your potting projects, pottery pot projects. It can smooth stuff down, and it just really makes a nice seam. So I'm going over this with the chamois to just finish it off and make it look good. Nice and smooth, like that. And I'm going to do this all the way around, and then I'm going to take this, the wooden tool, and go on the inside and try to smooth that and make a good seam there. Okay, now we'll see if we can get my hand in here, and oh goodness, this is going to be a stretch. Let me see if I got something. I have another tool here that's like this. Works good on tall pots, and you can kind of go in there and push things around so it makes a good seam. We're working in pretty tight quarters here, so makes it a little more difficult. I think what I'm going to do, just to really enforce this, I think I'm going to roll another worm of clay out here and see if I can't get that on the inside and form that seam to make it a better seam too. So we're going to do the same thing on the inside that we did on the outside, only we're going to make a little bit thinner worm. It's kind of like rolling kringla dough. Now, just for ease of handling, because this is in confined areas in here, I'm going to try to, I don't think I'm even going to be able to score this. So what I'm going to do is just take the brush with some water on and moisten the seam real well And we're going to hope for the best here, that it's rough enough in there that it'll adhere. I think it will. This is just kind of as an extra precautionary measure to do. We're going to cut this in pieces so that I can handle a little easier, and this is going to go inside on the seam. And I can't show you, I just have to feel my way and feel it in there and get it around to where it needs to be. A lot of times on these tall vessels, that's what you have to do, is you just sort of have to go by feel. And we're going to put the final piece in there, and that will really make this a secure seam now. There we go. So I'm going to hold on the outside to support it. I'm going to take my finger and press that worm of clay that we put in there, or bead, whatever you want to call it, and just try to press it in as a good seam. And try to get it as smooth as you possibly can. If it gets dry, wet your finger a little bit, because so your finger will go along. It's just like putting a bead of silicone caulking in there. That's what we're doing. A little bit more. We're almost done here. Now I'm going to take my chamois on the end of my finger, dampen it a little bit, make sure you just got smooth, and I'm going to go around that seam with the chamois, because that will just smooth this right up. Make it just where we want it to be. I don't think you're going to be able to see. I'll try to tip it for you to see down in there, but there's the seam in it. Okay, just clean up here a little bit on our seam. I see where I need to work on it a little bit more, make it nicer. I guess the birds really don't care what it looks like, but I care what it looks like, and y'all are going to judge me by what kind of job I can do, so we want to make it look good, right? Now the next thing that we would need to do is just to step back a little, make sure these edges, you don't beat them up too bad. You bump against them once in a while, and so you got to do repair, repair work on them. So kind of try and keep them smooth. Then step back and see which way it's leaning and where I need to straighten things up a little bit. And how crooked, how much of a leaning tower of Pisa is it? Appears to be a little bit. We'll try to get it as straight as we can. Not too bad. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for what we're doing here today. Birds aren't going to care. Okay, now what we're going to do next is before we put the top on, and the top is going to have to be so that we can lift it on and off and fill it with bird food. But our next thing is we want to put places for the birds to eat. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and put little holes that they can see, come in and eat out of. And we're going to draw like a smiley face, just the mouth part on this. And let me see if I can get this done okay, and then I'll show you what I'm doing. Probably a fettling knife would work the easiest on this. I don't have one. Hopefully that's going to be my birthday present also. Now, we've drawn a smiley face you can see on this. Let me tip it a little bit so you can see it. We've drawn that. And what we're going to do is support on the inside and press this in like that, kind of curving it a little bit so they can get their little heads in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come with our thumbs and pull outward so there's a place for them to come in and eat, and smooth that around the edge. And that should take care of, you know, for the seed, it should kind of shelter it a little bit, but they should be able to come in here and put your two fingers like this and kind of make a little lip out. So they got a little trough to come in here and eat. We're making it handy for the birds, but I think I'm making it handy for the squirrels as well, which I don't really like to do. I have a big squirrel problem here at our place. They like to eat all the bird feed out. Okay, so there's what it looks like, a big smiley face, kind of. Can you see that? And we're going to come around on the other side and do the same thing. Let's see here. I'm going to draw another big smiley face. Cut right through with a, I'm using a needle tool to cut this. You can use whatever you want, but the needle tool seems to work pretty good. And we're going to bring this inward and kind of shape it around my finger a little bit, arch it a little bit for their heads to go in. And then remember, we're going to come and pull this one out and smooth it with our finger, work it till it's smooth and nice so you don't have any rough edges. I'm really excited about this. We have a lot of bird feeders out for the birds, and we've got quite a raft of different animals that come and eat, especially different types of birds. We've got a cardinal family here and a lot of chickadees. And now what we're going to do is, before we're done with this too, don't let me forget, but we're going to put in holes for the birds to sit on, a little stick or something for them to sit on so they can eat their food. And I was thinking maybe I might just make those out of clay. Now what I'm going to come and do is put one a little higher up, like right in here, and the rest of this will be just storage area for the bird seed. So we're going to put two more holes in, or two more feeder areas in, a little higher up on opposite corners. Let's see. About right there I think is good. I'll show you this in just a minute. This is really pretty quick to do. Let me draw one on the other side so we get out the same place. There we go. So let's pop this one open. I put kind of a little arch in it. If you can see right here with my finger, I'm holding my hand on the inside. And then on this one, I'm going to just pull out, put two fingers to the side and pull it out a little bit, like that. So it's kind of like somebody's lip sticking out there. And all the while, try to support on the back side when you're rubbing this so that you can get a good edge on it and it doesn't distort it. You should just be able to rub your finger pretty good for right now to shape it. Just like that. Let's go around and get the other side. I'm going to poke that one in. And we're going to bring and pull it out a little bit. Smooth the edges. We're almost on the whole downhill stretch here, folks. I think what I like about building slab stuff is it's kind of like being a carpenter. And sometimes you have to think of the same structures as you would in building a house, and I like to do that kind of thing. So to me, I get a lot of satisfaction from just being able to construct something and make something from nothing. And I think that's the fun thing about pottery, is making something from nothing. You know, I got some little red squirrels here. I bet they'll probably try to, unless this shrinks enough, they'll probably try to crawl right in here and eat. Seems like they like to try to do that. I don't know if the rest of you have that problem, but these little red squirrels, man, they're tiny and they really like to get into where they shouldn't be. Okay, now we're going to take that chamois, dampen it a little bit, squeeze it out, and come in here and finish off the edges of this. So get them nice and smooth, so it looks nice like a finished product, and we're just going to rub it smooth like this. Kind of get our structure back again to what we want, that little lip coming out. Like that. Oops. We'll do this one too while we're here. And we got 2 more left. This chamois does such a nice job of smoothing everything out. You can do this on any of your pottery and it just gives it such a nice smooth finish. Kind of checking that our little flaps stay up. They're going to sag down a little bit, but hopefully they'll stay up pretty good. And we're going to do the last final hole here. This way that when the bird feeder is full, they can eat out of the top part of the feeder, and then they can come on the bottom part of the feeder and when it starts going downward a little bit. Okay, I think, and then I'm going to check and make sure that I've kind of got my container still rounded, because I've been pushing on it a little bit here and there. It looks pretty good. Kind of looks like a tree trunk. This texture that I chose is a little earthy looking, and it's kind of neat. So I'm going to smooth this out again, this plate that I've kind of banged up with, dinged up with touching it. There's some crumbs here that I need to wipe off and get this nice and smooth so it looks good. And now I got to figure out what color I'm going to glaze it. But that's a ways down the road yet, so guess I won't get too concerned with that. Trying to get the little crumbs off of here that fell out. Don't need those in there messing things up. And wipe it smooth, wipe it smooth. By golly, I think we got a makings of a bird feeder here, folks. Okay, now we got the top to put on because it needs something to shield it from the rain and the snow. So what we're going to do is take this little plate that we made, and on this little plate what we have to do also, we're going to take our punch tool again, because what we're going to have to do is put holes in this so that a string can come through. And I'm trying to think if I want to do, yeah, I'll do this. I can just knot the cord tighter. So where I'm going to put the holes for this is on the side where there isn't any holes, okay? And we're going to come up here close to the top, and we're going to punch a hole through about 3/4 of an inch from the top edge. And I'm going to go on the other side and do the same thing. Punch a hole in there. Now we have a hole to put our string in. But here's the other thing that we need to do. This is going to sit on the top like this to cover it. And so now we've got to check and see that we get it kind of centered in there, just like we did on the bottom one, without standing too much on my head. Hey, we got it pretty good, guys. And we got it square with the other one because it'd look kind of funny if it was kitty wampus, I think. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to take the needle tool and draw around it again so I don't have to go figure out where the alignment is. I think this one's going to be a little harder to do. And then the other thing that we're going to do is take where the holes are. You got one on this side and I got one over here, and we're going to go on the inside and poke a hole because the string is going to come down like this through here and out through the hole in the cylinder with a big knot on it, so that you can lift this up and down off of the cord and that way be able to fill the bird feeder. So we're going to line up where that hole is, come in here and make sure that we are inside, and we're going to drill a hole. Just like that. We're going to do it for the other side. Line it up right there. And we're going to feel where it's at, and we're going to put a hole in there. There we go. We got 2 holes now. And that's a good thing. We're going to take this off. I think I dropped a spot of clay down in there, and I've got to try and get that out. That core went down in there. Because now, once we... Oh, and of course it doesn't want to stick to my needle tool, of course. Let's see if we can get it with something else. There's always got to be something that doesn't work right, doesn't there? There we go. We got that little bit of clay that was stuck in there. Okay, everything looks good on the inside. This is the last time. So what we're going to do is score this edge of this pot. Just like this. And we're going to score the top of this. Just like that. And this time I think I'm going to put a little slip because I can't get my hand inside to do the extra. This is what slip looks like. We have it in the studio. It's watered down, basically watered down clay. And it can be runnier than this, but here's what I'm going to do with it. I'm just going to put it on, put it in where this scored area is. And this will form, it's just like, this is clay glue is what I call it. Oh, you know, before we put that on, there's one more thing we better do. We better make a hole for the perch, hadn't we? So right below this, each hole, we're going to make a hole for a perch. And then you can either use a little dowel stick to poke in there once it dries, or after you fired it. I'm doing this now because if something drops inside, I can get my hand in there and get it out. There we go. Got all those done. The holes are all in. Now the birds will have a place to perch. If you can see, we did it right below. We're going to put a little bit of slip up on this one because it's starting to dry out a little bit, and I just want to make sure that that seam is sealed really, really good because I won't be able to put a bead on that as easily. Okay, so we're ready to put the top back on now. And I'm going to just give this a quick finish on the edge of this top. If you want to, you know, you could put a texture on the top of this roof, like a little roof type stuff. I'm not going to mess with that today. Maybe in the future, if I want to make fancy bird feeders, I will, but this is one thing that we can do. We have a couple garden tours in our gardens this summer, our hosta gardens, and So I'm into making toad houses right now to put in various places of the garden for our toads so that they can catch all the mosquitoes and all the bad dudes that we don't want around. Okay, we got this smoothed down real nice. And here we go. Now be sure you line up these holes with these holes here, or else you're going to have problems. And we're going to look as to where we got this placed. Kind of look to see that you got it fairly centered. I think we're pretty good. Look from this side. Whoops, we're a little bit off kilter here. There we go. By golly, and then make sure it's straight with the one below. And we're just going to put some easy pressure down on it. I'm going to take this little wooden tool now and see if I can smooth around. But this, you got to be very, very careful to smooth now because we don't have a bead in there. And we want a good seal. What I'm going to do, but I'm not going to have you sit and be bored watching me do this, I'm going to roll another little ropey piece of clay and put it around on the top side, just like we did down at the bottom, so that we have a nice seam. And that finishes our birdhouse. And we'll bisque it, and then we'll glaze it, and it'll be ready to hang, and the birds can enjoy their meals. I've really had a lot of fun on this rainy afternoon, showing you some ideas that you can do, and hopefully some of you can get back in the studio, and hopefully we'll all be back in there real soon, and you can start making a bird feeder or a bird house. You could do either one, whatever you wish to. Anyway, thanks a lot, and from one mud puppy to another, have a great day. Bye-bye now.